They told you that if you were good enough, kind enough, selfless enough, they'd love you. They told you that nice guys finish first, that goodness always comes back, that people will treat you the way you treat them. And you believed them. So you smiled when you were hurting. You gave when you had nothing left. You stayed silent to keep the peace, even as it tore you apart. You tried to be the best version of yourself, the one they would approve of. But something strange happened. The more you gave, the less they respected you. The kinder you were, the more they pushed. And somewhere along the way, you realized that what they called goodness felt more like self-erasure. You weren't being rewarded. You were being used. This isn't a call to become cruel. This isn't about abandoning kindness. This is about unlearning the lie that kindness without strength will save you. Because it won't. They don't respect the one who bends. They respect the one who stands. And until you understand that, they will keep mistaking your goodness for weakness. Let's begin. You were taught that being good meant being agreeable, obedient, quiet. That if you could just be nice enough, helpful enough, self-sacrificing enough, people would love you, accept you, protect you. But what they really taught you was how to disappear. They didn't teach you morality. They taught you submission disguised as virtue. Because here's the uncomfortable truth. Most of what we call goodness isn't goodness at all. It's fear. Fear of rejection. Fear of abandonment. Fear of being called difficult. Fear of not being enough. So you smile when you're angry. You say yes when you mean no. You give endlessly, not because it's your nature, but because it's the only way you know to feel safe. That's not kindness. That's conditioning. And this conditioning runs deep. It started in childhood, when love was conditional, when your worth depended on how easy you were to handle, when saying no got you punished, and speaking your truth made people withdraw. So you learned to adapt, to survive. You became the good boy, the sweet girl, the one who never caused trouble. And slowly, you built your identity on the approval of others. But here's what they never told you. The world doesn't reward goodness. It rewards strength. And those who confuse one for the other often spend their lives being walked on, overlooked, and emotionally drained, wondering why their goodness isn't enough. But it's not your goodness that's the problem. It's the illusion that goodness without boundaries is noble. Because without courage, without clarity, without limits, what you call kindness becomes self-betrayal. And deep down you know it. You feel it. You see how people respond. Not with admiration, but with entitlement. You give more, and they ask for more. You stay silent, and they get louder. You try to be liked, and end up invisible. So if being good keeps costing you your peace, your voice, and your self-respect, maybe it's not goodness. Maybe it's a mask. And if it is, then the question isn't, how can I be more good? It's, what's hiding underneath? Because that's where the real work begins. Next, let's look deeper into where this illusion comes from and why you learned to wear it in the first place. You didn't choose this mask. It was given to you. Long before you could speak clearly, you were already making deals with the world, not in words, but in nervous glances, in withheld tears, in the way your body tensed when the room shifted moods. It was a silent contract, written in the language of survival. And it went something like this. If I don't make waves, you'll love me. If I'm helpful, quiet, pleasant, you won't leave. If I sacrifice myself, you'll finally see me. This is what psychologists call fawning, a trauma response disguised as people-pleasing. It's the child's way of controlling chaos, of earning safety in an unpredictable world. Because when love is inconsistent, when praise is performance-based, when anger feels dangerous, children don't rebel. They adapt. They shrink. They perform. And here's the tragic brilliance of it. It works, at least for a while. The good kid becomes the peacemaker, the achiever, the golden child. They learn to anticipate needs, to avoid confrontation, to be whatever others want them to be. But the price? Authenticity. You stop asking, what do I feel? And start asking, what do they want me to feel? You stop expressing anger and start smiling through it. You stop having needs and start earning approval for denying them. This isn't morality. It's emotional exile. And the worst part is, it feels noble. You believe you're being mature, loving, selfless. But deep down, your nervous system is still that child, negotiating safety by disappearing. And the world around you? It benefits. They praise your selflessness while taking advantage of your silence. You're not weak. You're conditioned. But now, you have a choice. To break the contract. To risk being disliked in order to be whole. Because staying good to avoid pain is not the same as being good from a place of truth. So the question is, are you ready to remember who you were before the performance began? Let's go deeper into how this false virtue becomes your identity and how people learn to exploit it. Imagine for a moment that you're standing in a room full of mirrors. Each one reflects a different version of you. Each mirror shows a different role you've played, a different mask you've worn. You can see the good friend, the obedient worker, the loyal partner, but none of them feel like the real you. It's as though you're trapped within these reflections. This is the virtue trap. It's the self-image you've carefully constructed out of duty, expectation, and fear. And while the world admires these reflections, they never truly reveal who you are at your core. You've been praised for your kindness, your generosity, your ability to be there for others. But have you ever asked yourself, what is the cost of being constantly good? The virtue trap is more than just a desire to please. It's the psychological armor you've built to shield yourself from rejection, fear, and the risk of being unloved. You've learned that if you just stay virtuous enough, people will like you. They'll respect you. They'll need you. But here's the truth that hides behind all of this goodness. The more you lean into this role of perfection, the more you're trapped by it. Your identity becomes dependent on others' perceptions of you. You start to believe that who you are is determined by how others see you. And that leaves you vulnerable because their approval is fickle and their demands are endless. The price of kindness without boundaries is exhaustion. The price of self-sacrifice without recognition is resentment. The price of being liked by everyone is the slow death of selfhood. Your genuine needs and desires get drowned out by the clamor of others' expectations. You become a servant to your own image, forever looking over your shoulder, forever chasing approval. And that's when the Machiavellian instinct kicks in. Because when you've been trapped for so long, you start to realize something. The game isn't about being liked. It's about survival. But what happens when the people around you see your kindness as a weakness? What happens when they learn that you're willing to sacrifice everything for their approval? They exploit it. You give and give and give, and they take and take and take. You've been conditioned to give in order to receive, but now all you're left with is a hollow shell of a person who has nothing left to offer, except the same old goodness. You begin to ask yourself, is this really kindness? Or is it just a strategy to feel safe in a world that doesn't care about your needs? Now you're at a crossroads. Do you continue to feed this illusion of virtue, or do you break free from this trap, regain your power, and redefine what true kindness really is? There's a story you've heard 1,000 times. It's the story of the good person, the one who always does the right thing, the one who sacrifices their needs for others. This person is praised, admired, and beloved by society. They seem to embody the ideals we strive for: honesty, selflessness, compassion. But if you look closer, you start to see cracks in the story. What if the goodness you've been conditioned to believe in is just an illusion? What if all these moral rules, these virtuous actions, were never really about your true self? What if they were a way to secure your place in a world that demands conformity, that rewards obedience, but punishes authenticity? The illusion of virtue is a construct. It's a game you've been taught to play, where the rules are simple: be good, be generous, and others will like you. But this is the paradox. Being good to win approval from others is not kindness, it's manipulation. And the moment you begin to use virtue as a tool for gaining affection or respect, you've stepped into a shadow game. Virtue, in its purest sense, has no expectations. It doesn't need to be recognized to be meaningful. True virtue comes from a place of self-respect and genuine care, not from a desperate need for external validation. But when you are driven by the fear of rejection, you can't tell the difference between true kindness and a calculated strategy for survival. At its core, the illusion of virtue is rooted in the fear of being exposed, of being seen as weak or unworthy. It is the fear of being labeled selfish, greedy, or cold-hearted. You believe that if you stop giving, stop sacrificing, stop being good, you will lose everything: love, respect, connection. But is that really true? Or are you just holding on to a story that's been spoon-fed to you your entire life? To break free from the illusion of virtue, you must face the uncomfortable truth. You cannot be everything to everyone, and neither should you try. When you abandon this false ideal of self-sacrifice, you step into a new realm of power and self-awareness. You discover that you don't need to lose yourself to gain the love or respect of others. The key to true kindness lies in boundaries. Boundaries allow you to give without depleting yourself. They allow you to be compassionate without being a doormat. And more importantly, they allow you to stay true to yourself. In fact, your strength, your real power, is not in your ability to please, but in your ability to choose who and what deserves your attention, your energy, and your time. There's a story you've heard 1,000 times. It's the story of the good person, the one who always does the right thing, the one who sacrifices their needs for others. This person is praised, admired, and beloved by society. They seem to embody the ideals we strive for: honesty, selflessness, compassion. But if you look closer, you start to see cracks in the story. What if the goodness you've been conditioned to believe in is just an illusion? What if all these moral rules, these virtuous actions, were never really about your true self? What if they were a way to secure your place in a world that demands conformity, that rewards obedience, but punishes authenticity? The illusion of virtue is a construct. It's a game you've been taught to play, where the rules are simple: be good, be generous, and others will like you. But this is the paradox. Being good to win approval from others is not kindness, it's manipulation. And the moment you begin to use virtue as a tool for gaining affection or respect, you've stepped into a shadow game. Virtue, in its purest sense, has no expectations. It doesn't need to be recognized to be meaningful. True virtue comes from a place of self-respect and genuine care, not from a desperate need for external validation. But when you are driven by the fear of rejection, you can't tell the difference between true kindness and a calculated strategy for survival. At its core, the illusion of virtue is rooted in the fear of being exposed, of being seen as weak or unworthy. It is the fear of being labeled selfish, greedy, or cold-hearted. You believe that if you stop giving, stop sacrificing, stop being good, you will lose everything: love, respect, connection. But is that really true? Or are you just holding on to a story that's been spoon-fed to you your entire life? To break free from the illusion of virtue, you must face the uncomfortable truth. You cannot be everything to everyone, and neither should you try. When you abandon this false ideal of self-sacrifice, you step into a new realm of power and self-awareness. You discover that you don't need to lose yourself to gain the love or respect of others. The key to true kindness lies in boundaries. Boundaries allow you to give without depleting yourself. They allow you to be compassionate without being a doormat. And more importantly, they allow you to stay true to yourself. In fact, your strength, your real power, is not in your ability to please, but in your ability to choose who and what deserves your attention, your energy, and your time. Boundaries are not walls. At first glance, they might seem like barriers, as though you're closing yourself off from the world. But that's not their true purpose. Boundaries are lines of clarity. They are the invisible but powerful forces that define who you are and who you are not, what you will tolerate and what you won't, where you end and where others begin. Boundaries are a declaration of self-respect. Without them, you are a leaf caught in the wind, pushed and pulled by every opinion, every demand, every expectation. Without boundaries, you sacrifice your peace, your needs, and your values in order to fit into a world that doesn't care about your true essence. When you set boundaries, you're not just protecting yourself from others, you're protecting your soul. You're telling the world, this is where I stand. This is who I am. I will not compromise my authenticity for the sake of your approval. It's an act of courage, and it's the first step towards reclaiming your autonomy. But it's not always easy. Boundaries are often met with resistance, especially from those who have learned to take advantage of your kindness. They may see your refusal as a personal attack. They might label you as selfish, cruel, or unkind. They might guilt-trip you into submission. This is the great challenge of setting boundaries. You will face the world's judgment. But it's important to remember, their discomfort is not your problem. Boundaries force others to respect you, but more importantly, they force you to respect yourself. They allow you to stop saying yes when your heart is screaming no. They allow you to stop draining yourself for the sake of keeping the peace. And most importantly, boundaries allow you to step into a space where you are in control of your time, your energy, and your life. True strength is not about being invulnerable. It's about knowing your limits and standing firm when they are tested. It's about saying, I value my peace more than I value your approval. When you do this, something remarkable happens. The respect you seek from others becomes a byproduct of your own self-respect. And that is far more powerful than any fleeting form of external validation. Setting boundaries isn't just about saying no to others. It's about saying yes to yourself. It's about making the conscious choice to preserve your energy for things that truly matter. It's about knowing that you are worthy of respect, of love, and of peace, simply by being who you are. And once you truly understand the power of boundaries, you unlock a deeper layer of autonomy, the kind that leads to freedom, inner peace, and a more authentic connection with others. We all wear masks, consciously or unconsciously. But what if I told you that these masks aren't just how others see us? They're how we see ourselves. Perception is a mirror. The way we view the world, others, and most importantly, ourselves, is not based on reality. It's based on the images we've been conditioned to hold in our minds. We look into the mirror of our perception and believe we see the truth, but we are only seeing reflections of our past experiences, our fears, our insecurities. We often judge others based on our own perception of them. And, in turn, we judge ourselves based on the distorted image we've created in our minds. This creates a dangerous cycle, because the more we let our perception define us, the more trapped we become in illusions. Think about it. How many times have you acted out of fear of being judged? How many times have you held back your true thoughts or desires because you feared how others might perceive you? How often have you shaped yourself into someone you think people will like, rather than someone you are meant to be? This is the core of self-deception. You start to see yourself not as who you truly are, but as who you believe the world wants you to be. And in doing so, you betray your own authentic self. You lose touch with your values, your needs, your true power. Perception is not static, it's fluid. It shifts and changes based on our emotions, experiences, and interactions. The challenge is in recognizing that our perception is just a reflection, not reality. What we see in the mirror may be distorted by our fears, insecurities, and past conditioning. But here's the liberating truth. You have the power to change the way you perceive yourself. You can choose to stop living in the reflection of other people's expectations and start stepping into the light of your own truth. You can choose to look into the mirror and ask yourself, is this image the real me? Or is it just a projection of what I've been told to be? This is where true autonomy begins, when you stop letting others define your self-worth and reclaim control over your own perception. When you understand that the mirror reflects not who you are, but who you've been conditioned to believe you should be, you can shatter the illusion. And in doing so, you set yourself free. Virtue is a word we've been taught to revere. We speak of it with reverence, admire those who seem to embody it, and often strive for it ourselves. But what if the very idea of virtue, as we've been conditioned to understand it, is not the noble pursuit we've been led to believe? Machiavelli, often misunderstood and misquoted, saw virtue differently. To him, virtue was not about being overly good or self-sacrificing in the way society often expects us to be. No, virtue, in his eyes, was about strategic strength, acting with purpose, discipline, and decisiveness. It wasn't about the naive, almost self-destructive idea of goodness. It was about achieving power and respect through intelligent actions, grounded in real-world dynamics. Now, consider this for a moment. What if we've been looking at virtue all wrong? What if the world is not rewarding us for being good in the sense we've been taught, but instead, for the qualities we project? These are qualities that might align with societal standards: caring, empathetic, humble, but they may also be illusions, masks we wear to gain acceptance. Virtue, as we know it, has become a social currency, and this currency doesn't necessarily reflect true power or respect. It can be a trap. It can make you feel obligated to give, sacrifice, and serve others, often at the cost of your own well-being. The pressure to be virtuous can lead you to make decisions from a place of fear, not strength. Fear of judgment. Fear of being labeled selfish or cold. But true strength isn't in playing the part of the perfect, virtuous person. True strength comes from recognizing when not to act out of fear or obligation. True strength lies in knowing when to say no, when to set boundaries, when to act with courage and intelligence, even if it challenges the norms. It lies in understanding that true kindness is not about people-pleasing. It's about respecting yourself enough to be real, to make choices that serve your growth, and, ultimately, the growth of those around you. Virtue in this light is not about appeasing others or adhering to rigid moral codes. It's about understanding that your actions, your words, and your decisions must align with your true self. It's about standing in your power, knowing that sometimes kindness means setting boundaries. Sometimes kindness means doing what's right for you, even if it's uncomfortable. To be truly virtuous, you must first be real. You must first be strong enough to discard the illusion of moral perfection and embrace the complexity of your own humanity. It's easy to believe that strength is a matter of brute force, of dominance. Yet true strength, as Machiavelli would argue, doesn't come from loud displays or harsh tactics. It comes from calculated action, precision, and the ability to adapt. Strength is not about imposing your will on others, but about controlling your environment, your responses, and your outcomes. Strength, in this context, is strategic. Think of a chessboard. Every move counts. And the strongest player isn't the one who moves the pieces wildly, but the one who anticipates their opponent's moves and responds with precision. In life, we can't always control the people around us, but we can control how we engage with them. The strategic use of power comes from knowing when to act and when to wait. It's about understanding that timing, awareness, and perception are often more powerful than sheer force. The greatest strength lies in flexibility, knowing when to yield and when to push forward. A rigid person can be easily broken, but someone who adapts, who bends without breaking, becomes a force to be reckoned with. Machiavelli's genius wasn't in advocating for cruelty or manipulation. It was in his understanding that power, at its core, is about perception and timing. You must understand the game to play it well. True strength is a matter of self-mastery. It's about knowing your weaknesses and using them as points of leverage, recognizing your fears and using them as fuel for growth. Strength isn't about being impervious to pain or challenge. It's about facing those obstacles and choosing to act in ways that keep you moving forward, even when it's difficult. Real power doesn't come from intimidating others. It comes from respecting yourself enough to create the conditions that allow you to thrive. And often, this means choosing a path of intelligent restraint, recognizing when to hold back, when to speak, when to act, and when to simply observe. It's not about reacting impulsively, but about understanding the rhythms of life and knowing when to step in and when to let things unfold. Machiavelli knew that those who can control their impulses, who can act strategically rather than emotionally, will always have the upper hand. Strength, then, is not just the ability to dominate. It's the ability to navigate the complexities of life with a clear sense of purpose and direction. It's about mastering the art of timing and perception, two tools that can shape your reality in powerful ways. There's an old saying that perception is reality. But what does that really mean? In the world Machiavelli describes, it means that how others see you is just as powerful, if not more so, than who you truly are. Think about it. A person may be kind, generous, and well-intentioned, but if their actions are misunderstood, if their reputation doesn't match the reality of their character, they lose influence. Their power dissipates. They become weak. Perception, therefore, is not just a reflection of reality, it is reality. Machiavelli, in his The Prince, makes it clear that a ruler must always be mindful of their image. People are often more influenced by how things appear than by the truth of the matter. The careful manipulation of perception isn't deceit. It's a form of self-preservation and control. The key to mastering perception is inconsistency. If your actions align with your words, and your words are consistent with your values, others will trust you. If you project strength, humility, or wisdom, but act with the opposite, you'll be exposed. That exposure is what creates weakness. But perception isn't static. It's dynamic, shifting based on how you present yourself in every interaction. And to maintain a strong image, you must be aware of every move you make, because everything you do is shaping the way others view you. From your posture to your tone of voice, From the company you keep to the things you choose to reveal about yourself, all of it matters. In fact, Machiavelli even suggests that rulers sometimes need to appear virtuous, even when they are not. The prince should be seen as just, compassionate, and moral, not necessarily because those qualities define his character, but because they are what people expect and respect. The reality of his rule might be ruthless, but his perception should be one of fairness. The point isn't to lie, it's to understand that people's expectations of you shape the reality you can create. In our own lives, we can apply this same principle. Think of a leader in any area, business, social circles, or politics. The most successful individuals are often not those with the most obvious power, but those who have perfected the art of creating an image that commands authority and respect. It's about mastering the narrative, your narrative. This doesn't mean pretending to be something you're not. It means consciously crafting the version of yourself that you want the world to see and aligning your actions with that image. It's about being in control of your own story, not allowing others to dictate it for you. As we come to the end of this exploration, it's clear that Machiavelli's ideas are not just applicable to kings and rulers. They're practical tools for anyone looking to gain respect, influence, and autonomy in their lives. But here's the truth. It's not enough to simply understand the theory. The real work begins with application. You must actively engage with the principles you've learned here. Start small, refine your self-awareness, and move with intention. Over time, you'll develop the inner strength and strategic perception that will set you apart from the crowd. So, as you reflect on all this, I leave you with a simple, yet profound question. What will you do with your newfound understanding of power and perception? By now, you've learned that power isn't just about kindness, or submission, or even strength. It's about a delicate, strategic balance of perception, self-awareness, and action. It's about understanding that true power lies in your ability to navigate the intricacies of life, manage your image, and act with purpose and precision. If you found this exploration enlightening, I encourage you to dive even deeper. Reflect on the ways these principles show up in your own life, at work, in your relationships, or within yourself. Every day is an opportunity to master the art of perception, to refine your strategic actions, and to build the strength needed to live life on your terms. And if you want to continue exploring the deeper layers of human nature, philosophy, and psychology, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, The Archetype. We're just beginning to scratch the surface of what it means to truly understand ourselves, our power, and our place in the world. Until next time, stay strategic, stay self-aware, and always remember, true power starts with you.